My involvement in the St. George Marathon started, oddly enough, at the finish line.
Where most people decide they want to run a race is when they watch someone else finish.
Sit there at the finish line for an hour and watch people come across that line, and you'll be hooked.
Seeing folks cross the finish line and hugging their relatives, people crying, there's some kind of crazy appeal to it.
I think a lot of the realities of the race are unleashed at the finish line.
It was just a surreal experience.
You know, that's where you see the people that trained enough, the people that didn't, the people that are in shape, the people that maybe aren't so much, the people that were just running for fun, and the people that were running for their lives.
Training for the marathon is part of the joy of running the marathon.
You're running twice a day, 15 miles a day. How crazy? What are you doing? Why would you want to do a marathon? What's the big deal?
It's kind of lonely being out on the road early in the morning when rational people are still asleep.
Training's about at least a 6-month process. It's a love-hate relationship. When you live in southern Utah, you've got to get up at about 3 o'clock in the morning to beat the heat.
For me, it's not a question of whether I want to, it's I have to be able to cope.
You know, when you put a lot of time and commitment into something, the reward is twice as good.
It's just incredible what you can put your body through. And I don't think enough people go out on a limb to see just how far they can push it.
It's all about the race.
I am a junkie.
If I don't do this today, it's going to hurt when I do it on the race. And I want to have a good race day. I want to feel fantastic on race day.
Before long, you're working into 12 miles a week, and then 12 miles turns into 16 miles, and then 18 miles, and before you know it, you're putting in over 30 miles a week.
The marathon itself is the easy part when you consider all the miles that you run in training.
No less than 26 miles a week.
Usually average about 85 miles a week.
For the last 13 years.
Around 100 miles a week.
I generally will run 4 to 5 times a week.
And never had more than, say, 3 or 4 days off.
And all the days and weeks and months that you put in up until that point, that's really the hard part. And I think the marathon is the reward.
When you start out in the St. George Marathon, you start very early. You board a bus at probably about 4 o'clock in the morning.
The bus ride takes forever.
Man, this is a lot longer driving than I hope it feels running.
Then you turn the corner and come up over that hill and drop into Central, and there are thousands of people. There's flags from every country flying, and there's bonfires as far as the eye can see. It is really an awesome sight.
It is a beautiful day, and welcome once again to the 34th annual St. George Marathon.
Once you get off of the bus, there's loud music and people are excited and happy. This is, of course, because they haven't started running the 26 miles yet.
Everyone's there for a different reason, and yet they're all in common because they all have that goal.
And before you know it, you hear that voice calling your attention to the start line to get in place.
And then you start lining up in the corrals and wait for that gun to go off.
That gun goes off.
It's dark.
And you start running.
The first couple of miles you don't even realize have gone by because the sun's not even up.
It's kind of crazy getting across the start line 7 minutes after the start and just knowing from the first minute of that time there's just been herds of people crossing that line.
There's all shapes and body sizes out there, and that's what's so great. It's just people trying to get past a stupid line 26.2 miles away.
Normally when I'm running, I'm so focused on time. Got to get through this race, got to keep my splits.
I love to chat in the beginning, especially.
You make friends along the way.
You can see the runners snaking on the course and just color and constant movement.
Mile 7 is Vail, and the dreaded Vail Hill starts there.
Vail Hill's pretty brutal. I've run it and I've walked it, and I can't tell you which one's better.
Some people run that thing strong. They're hill runners, and they do great. But other people, that's their first big obstacle, really, in that marathon course.
You've got to attack Vail the right way, or it'll eat you up.
No talking. You don't want to waste your voice because you're going to need the energy.
All the fun is kind of out at that point, and it's kind of serious business after Vail.
Then after the Vail Hill, you've got a different problem. The rest of the course is primarily downhill. It'll tear your legs up just as badly as going uphill.
When it starts to really get hard, It seems like that's when the crowds are around and they give you that boost. And the volunteers at this race are incredible.
They're so organized. These guys have it down to a science.
St. George Marathon is one of the best grassroots supported marathons in the country.
The volunteers and the people in this community make the St. George Marathon not so much about running, but more so about community and supporting each other. That's what makes us great.
That is a really, really powerful thing, to have thousands of people cheering you on. I can't even describe that unless you actually experience it.
You come down this hill and come around a corner, and suddenly Snow Canyon opens up right in front of you.
I've seen so many runners over the years stop and take pictures right there.
Right below that, you see a stream of runners. It looks like just a stream of ants.
I often get to the point, usually mile 18 or 20, and I think, why am I doing this?
I remember the first time that I would call my own wall. I had about 5 miles left, and my legs just cramped up. My whole body just jerked, and I couldn't keep running.
My first marathon, I hit it at mile 19, which I think is pretty typical. And I just started to cry, and I thought, I don't want to run a marathon. I can't finish this race.
What in the world am I doing? This is the stupidest hobby I could have ever come up with. I hate running. I'm never going to run again.
That's where you dig deeply. I mean, you know you have to go deeper. Even though you feel like you've given it all you have to dig deeper, because there's got to be something left to get you the last few miles.
Once you get into St. George, it feels like you're still running a long time. You just keep thinking, okay, one more corner, and you're weaving it out, one more corner, and it's like, man, is it ever going to get here?
When you start to come down that last strip and you see the finish line, you start to hear the roar. Those crowds carry you the last mile.
You can't cross the finish line of a marathon without having it become a part of your life. I think that's what keeps people coming back.
99% of the people that are there running, they're not running to win anything.
You kind of wonder why are these people doing it? And then you realize that there's thousands of different reasons and motivations behind every runner.
You've still run a race. You've still finished something extremely hard, and it's victorious.
When you cross the line, you're a winner. That's what I love about it. Whether it took you 2 hours and 30 minutes or 6 hours, you're still a winner. You've done something that's tough. You've pushed your body to the limits, and you've overcome. You've overcome body with your mind, and that's powerful.
I didn't for several days ever even think that I would try to do that again. But I found myself a few days after the race thinking, I can do that better. I can do that faster. And so, here we go again.